Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Today we have a question from Alexander Lako who says, how different would MMA be if they allowed fighters to wear shoes, gis, shorts, pants, headbands, etc.? Would the same fighters still dominate? I don't think any smart fighter would wear any of those things except for shoes. Shoes are the only thing on that list that would give you an advantage, with the rare exception of the guy who is so incredibly well-versed at grappling for mixed martial arts and grappling in the gi and has put an inordinate amount of time into training for the sport that doesn't currently exist. Might be able to weaponize his gi in some ways, but the reality is that guy is going to have that gi used against him more often than not, as opposed to being able to use it as a weapon against the other guy. The gi is a weapon. Most of the time, it's a weapon that's used against you, the guy wearing it. So smart fighters would wear as little grabbable clothing as possible. And as far as shoes, man, if you could wear any type of shoe, that's completely game-changing, man. Imagine you wear shoes with blades on the toes or something. You're probably not thinking about that. But what about steel-toed boots? Steel-toed shoes? You could kill people with those, even with wimpy little snap kicks. You could murder people with those. But what if you're talking about more like sports-oriented shoes, wrestling shoes, boxing shoes, something like that? Okay, those would have certain advantages. Wrestling shoes give you more grip. You can get more power on your shots for a double leg, etc. They can allow you to bridge more, grip the floor better, and get more power on a bridge and reversals and things like that, so it would be harder to pin you on the bottom. But everything else on the list, pants, jackets, headbands, oh man, a headband would be a huge, huge liability in an MMA fight. Man, hair is a big enough liability as it is. You're not allowed to grab the hair, but if there's clothing, like a gi, that implies that it's legal now to grab the clothing. The current rule in MMA is no grabbing the shorts, but there's no rule against grabbing the gi. You can't wear the gi, but there's nothing in the rules that says you can't grab a gi. So if you're wearing it, you can grab it. And if somebody can grab something that's on your head, they have complete 100% control over your head. So a headband is a stupid idea in a fight. Sorry, Ryu from Street Fighter 2, your headband is stupid. It is. On the streets, in the cage, wherever. It's stupid. So don't be wearing headbands in real fights. Man, sorry, Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence from The Karate Kid, your headbands look sweet, but they're not practical for real fighting, because those give the other guy complete 100% control over you. As little grabbable stuff on you as possible is what you want in an MMA fight. You know why Roman soldiers shaved off their beards? Why they popularized throughout the world to this day, thousands of years later? Shaving. Why? Because the barbarians, barbarian comes from barba, which means beard, right? If you can grab something on the head, you have complete control over your enemy's head. And he's much, much easier to kill if you have a short sword in the other hand. Grab that beard, stab, right? So Roman soldiers, Roman military style became the de facto men's fashion for facial hair in the West to this day, because of fighting strategies. Weird thing about military fashion throughout history. Military fashion turned into men's fashion, which turned into the fashion of the elite, and then trickled down to the peasants, and then became women's fashion. Dead serious about this. Think about this. Heels. Where did heels come from? Heels came from the horseback archers of the Middle East. They wore high heels. And when Europeans saw this, they were like, holy crap, these guys are good. Let's do this. Let's integrate this into our cavalry. We will give them heels so that they can fight on horseback. I mean, the samurai didn't fight on horseback. They rode horses into battle. Then they would usually get off of their horses and then get their pole arms out and their bows and arrows. And if they got close, maybe pull out their sword. But they didn't do a lot of horseback combat, specifically because they didn't have heels on their shoes. And so they couldn't support themselves on the saddle and take impacts or aim their bows or anything like that. It just wasn't done. But when these Middle Eastern horseback cavalry archers brought their high heels into battle, man, it worked and it caught on. And then the highest levels of European archers started copying that, and they got noticed by the kings, they got noticed by the dukes, by the noblemen. They were like, hey man, these guys know what's up, let's copy their fashion. And so you saw the kings, like, man, King Louis XIV in his glamorous high heels, in those paintings, man. Men wore high heels back in the day, the men in the highest positions. And then over time it became more of a common pedestrian fashion, and then a women's fashion, now exclusively a women's fashion. Outside of riding boots, cowboy boots, for people who actually still ride horses today. But for everybody else, man, forget about it. Men can't wear heels anymore without getting the side eye and weird looks on the streets. What are you doing wearing heels, you weirdo? That's a long tangent, right? I almost forgot what your question was about. But yeah, man, you don't want grabbable things in a cage fight on your body, because it gives the other guy handles to control you, handles to kill you, handles to strangle you, handles to win that fight. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.